Welcome to the show and welcome to Glow So Bright. So, I got me Guinness, I got me little Armalite, and I'm wearing green. I'm in the St. Patrick's Day spirit. And let's go talk about some Irish history. So, why did the Armalite rifle become the symbol for the IRA? Well, that's a pretty interesting story, and I'll tell you all about it. But first things first, I'll try and get the details as much as I can while maintaining brevity. And it doesn't help that so many factions share the same name and that different names are different over different languages. For example, events, landmarks, certain factions, and stuff like that. For example, Londonderry in English as well as Derry in Irish, and it doesn't help that this video is in English. So that just makes things a bit more murky. However, today's video will mainly focus on the firearms in question. So, let's go get started. The IRA, short for the Irish Republican Army, which in Irish is... Yeah, I'm not going to go try and pronounce it. It started as a group that had armed resistance and an armed struggle for the goal of an independent Ireland against British rule. And the original faction was created, and then little things here and there caused them to split. The original IRA ceased their operations with the 1921 Anglo-Irish Treaty, which did have an independent and sovereign Ireland free and independent from British rule, except for the northern areas and some northern counties. And with that, other factions would break away from the original group and create their own particular factions. And while many of these groups would have the same name as the IRA or the Irish name of it causes some problems here and there for identifying what it is. For example, while the official state-backed Army of Ireland from the Irish Defence Forces is also sharing the same name in Irish, do not confuse it with the later Irish Republican Army that was there after the Anglo-Irish Treaty. And with the fate of Ireland, there are so many groups that would disagree on how to accomplish that. Should Northern Ireland be under British control? Should treaties with the British be honored? Should Ireland be socialist? Should armed struggle be the same method to have independence for all of Ireland? Or should political maneuvering be done through Parliament or trying to get votes? With that, so many groups would end up having their own sorts of splits and a little bit of disagreement and sometimes even infighting amongst each other. Yet all of them would share the same name of the IRA. And with all these splits going around, and it birthed a tangle of groups, all claiming the IRA name, which that sort of tension sets the stage for our story. Let's fast forward to the 1960s. While the Irish Republic's free, Northern Ireland is still under British control, and trouble's brewing between the Protestant Irish, whom have loyalties to the Crown, as well as the Catholics, which desire Northern Ireland to be free and independent from British rule. Around that time, there was systematic discrimination against the Catholic Irish. For example, housing, employment, voting, suppression of protest have formed a catalyst for riots all over in Derry. One example of a significant riot was happening in August 12, 1969, which a Protestant parade takes place in a Catholic Bogside area to stoke tensions. Both parties end up clashing against each other, which would cause the police to get involved. The Royal Ulster Constabulary, or the REC, was a police force present in Northern Ireland, which is loyal to the Crown. Their attempt to enter Bogside with armored cars and CS gas was responded to Molotovs and barricades, resulting in over hundreds of injuries and allowing violence to spread throughout several days, over to Belfast and Derry. Around the same time on August 14, loyalist mobs with some REC backing attacked Catholic areas like Ardine and Falls Road, burning over 150 homes and killing 6. The REC opened fire towards civilians with machine guns from armored cars, killing a 9-year-old boy, among others. The Catholics saw this as state-sponsored violence and an extreme escalation of force. The British Army was deployed to maintain law and order on August 15. Both Loyalists and Catholics initially welcomed the Army, as they perceived that the Army will protect them from one another. Yet, the Loyalists viewed the Army as a hindrance to their actions, and the Catholics viewed the Army's heavy-handed actions of searches, curfews, and extreme collateral damage as a problem. This militarization is also perceived as entrenching British authority. As a rejection of the Anglo-Irish Treaty, the anti-treaty IRA has further splintered into 2 groups claiming lineage from the original IRA. One group with socialist leanings has shifted over to representation in Parliament, which they call themselves the official IRA. Another group with nationalist leanings, seeking armed resistance against the British and Loyalist paramilitary groups, was called the Provincial IRA, also known as the Provos. The Provincial IRA would end up fighting against British troops, the RUC, as well as Loyalist paramilitary groups. Initially, the Provincial IRA would have retrieved from caches of World War II vintage weaponry used in earlier struggles, such as the Lee Enfield, the M1 Garand, the M1 Carbine, as well as Thompson submachine guns. Yet for these old rifles are clumsy and slow for use. Submachine guns were inaccurate, and compared to the contemporary British arsenal with the L1A1 SLR semi-automatic rifle as well as the 9mm Sterling submachine gun, the Provincial IRA was outmatched, and they need something new. For the context of the Provincial IRA during the Troubles, I'll refer to them as the IRA unless otherwise stated. Irish Americans who sympathized with the IRA, often veterans of the original IRA, were organized as part of the network of supporters for fundraising and acquisition of modern weapons. For example, George Harrison, an Irish American, was a primary gun runner of the IRA in the United States, where he spent $1 million to acquire several firearms, including a significant number of AR-15 rifles, as well as semi-automatic AR-180 rifles. The transport of these weapons was facilitated through smuggling via freighters across the Atlantic. Later on, Gabriel Magany was able to secure Armalite rifles with imports of the weapon in the early 1980s, as Harrison's network waned after his own arrest. What does AR mean, and what does Armalite mean? Armalite was a small arms division of the Fairchild Aircraft Corporation, producing new and novel weapons, with the initial name being AR. For example, the AR-7 was a survivalist 22 long rifle, semi-automatic rifle. The AR-10 is a select-fire battle rifle. The AR-15 is an intermediate caliber rifle adapted from the original AR-10 design. The AR-18 is a short piston, semi-automatic or select-fire intermediate caliber rifle, and the AR-15 is a semi-automatic sporting shotgun. AR being called assault rifle is a misnomer to create unnecessary fear for legislature against these firearms. The 5.56 caliber Armalites were extremely effective for the urban terrain of Northern Ireland. They bridged the gap of the clumsy, yet accurate and powerful L1A1 SLR the British would be using, as well as providing the nimbleness of the Sterling submachine gun. This would bridge the gap between the two, and this would be great with the intermediate rifle. They allowed the IRA to be extremely effective in small arms combat with a large technological leap. Weighing approximately 7 pounds and built for quick handling, both the AR-15 and AR-18 gave IRA fighters an edge in the tight streets of Belfast and Derry. IRA gunmen were able to assassinate REC Constable David Montgomery during an ambush on a patrol with an AR-15 over in Derry. The 5.56 caliber cartridge is able to penetrate contemporary body armor. This is one of the first police fatalities by the IRA for the year, and has shifted the IRA to go on offensive operations. For example, in July 21, 1972, during events such as Bloody Friday over in Belfast, while the main weapon used by the IRA were car bombs and improvised explosive devices, IRA snipers armed with Armalite rifles were able to effectively engage British Army troops as a support weapon to supplement bomb use. On January 5, 1976, over in South Armagh, IRA gunmen stopped a van full of Protestant workers and opened fire, killing 10 and wounding 1 with an AR-15 and an M1 carbine. This incident would be known as the Kingsmill Massacre. In other instances in 1972, IRA snipers would engage British troops with Armalite rifles over in Derry and in Belfast, which combined with bombs and other weaponry, contributed to the death of over 100 British troops. The conflict's bloodiest year. On August 27, 1979, 2 remote bombs detonated a British paratrooper motorized convoy just outside of Warrenpoint, with supporting fire by small arms fire, possibly including Armalites. This attack has killed 18 soldiers and wounded 20, and the IRA troopers were able to use the nearby woods for cover, concealment, and a means for escape. Over in February 28, 1985, the IRA attacked the Newry RUC station with mortars, killing 9 and injuring 37 officers. Armalite rifles provided cover fire during the assault and retreat, also engaging patrols which would respond. Between 1985 and 1992, the IRA's South Armagh Brigade used Armalite rifles alongside 50 caliber Barrett rifles to engage British patrols as well as helicopters, with at least 20 deaths among British troops. The Armalite rifle, with it being accurate, nimble, and powerful, was a staple in IRA tactics and operations. It would be effective in close quarters combat and vehicle ambushes, be used as a support weapon to suppress and divert military and police response, as well as being accurate for use as a sniper rifle. This would solidify cultural praise among the IRA, as it enhanced capabilities of the individual foot soldier, while it becoming a valuable tool in planning in guerrilla operations. The Armalite rifle, with its effective use against British forces in 1972, cemented it as a symbol for the IRA. For example, the folk song that appeared in the early 1970s, Me Little Armalite, became well known over in Ireland, glorifying the rifle as a tool for resistance, with the lyrics, "Lying in the dark with the Provo Company, a comrade on me left and a comrade on me right, and a clip of ammunition from me little Armalite," talking about retaliation against the British with revenge and readiness. So why the AR-18 in particular? Why not other weapons such as the AR-15, the M1 carbine, or the AK-47? Even though they are featured in murals and photographs of the IRA, why the AR-18? These other weapons have other symbology associated with them. For example, early variants of the AR-15, such as the adoption of it in the United States military as the M16, had extremely prolific and widespread use in the Vietnam War. The M1 carbine is often associated in the hands of World War II troops, the American GI during World War II over in the Pacific and the Atlantic, and the AK-47, while associated with Soviet and communist troops, is also known to be associated with terrorists, but not just the IRA, in the hands of several others. However, the AR-18 has not been adopted by any military in significant numbers. Its innovative design has even shaped modern rifles, leaving a mark beyond the triples. Sure, while there are many service rifles which have their design be derived from the AR-18, such as the Type 89 by the Japanese military, the SAR-21 by the Singapore Army, the G-36 in use by the Germans, the HK-416, initially used by special forces and now a primary service rifle for many NATO members, and funnily enough, the SA-80 family of small arms in use by the British military. The AR-18 itself has not been used by any military armed group in large numbers, except for the Provincial IRA, and with that, it has led to the AR-18 being associated for it being the arm of the IRA. This is further reinforced in looking at pop culture and other media as well. For example, in the 2017 film The Foreigner, featuring Jackie Chan, Chang's character would fight against IRA terrorists armed with AR-18s. So around that time, how come many murals that are created today or newer photographs that were featuring the IRA not feature the AR-18? Let's go talk about our Irish-American gun runner, George Harrison. His run ended in 1981 when the FBI nabbed him for breaking federal firearms laws, and in his trial, U.S. v. Harrison, Hovey, Mullen, Gromley, and Flannery, Harrison's lawyer, Frank Durkin, alleged that the CIA was complicit in the act. Harrison was then acquitted in 1982, but ceased his gun-running activities. Gabriel McGaddy, another arms smuggler, was able to procure Armalites until his arrest by the FBI in Brooklyn, New York. Him and his cohorts were sentenced between 3 and 7 years in prison. With these arms smugglers arrested, the IRA needed to have another source of modern weapons. Over in Libya, dictator Muammar Gaddafi began supporting the IRA. The 1981 Irish hunger strike impressed Gaddafi, and the United States bombings in Libya in 1986, launched from British air bases, pivoted support for Gaddafi to arm the IRA. The weapons given to the IRA were several, including various small arms including AK-47 and AKM rifles, machine guns, surface-to-air missiles, RPGs, Semtex, and $1 million of cash. This dwarfed earlier hauls of weaponry and cash from Irish Americans in the 1970s. And wrapping up this exploration about why the AR-18 became the symbol of the Provisional IRA, it's clear that this rifle is more than just a weapon. It was a game changer during the Troubles. Its journey from a lesser-known firearm to an icon of the IRA's armed struggle highlights its unique impact. The AR-18 gave the IRA a technological edge in urban combat, with its accuracy, nimbleness, and firepower making it ideal for ambushes, assassinations, and support fire in high-profile operations. Unlike other weapons like the M1 carbine, the M16, or the AK-47, which carried broader associations with world wars and other global conflicts, the AR-18 stood apart. It wasn't widely adopted by other militaries or groups, making it distinctly tied to the IRA. This uniqueness fueled its cultural significance. Songs like Me Little Armalite and murals across Northern Ireland celebrated it as a tool of resistance, embedding it in the identity of the Provisional IRA. Even as the AK-47 gained prominence in later years, thanks to figures like Muammar Gaddafi, the AR-18 has already carved out its place in history. It symbolized the IRA's ability to adapt and strike back against the British forces, representing empowerment, strength to some, and violence and infamy to others. As we reflect on this, the Armalite AR-18 stands a reminder of a turbulent chapter in Irish history, a symbol shaped by conflict, ingenuity, and a complex legacy of the Troubles. Sláinte. To the story, to the tale, and one worth remembering as we raise a Guinness on this St. Patrick's Day. And that's good. So, if you do enjoy this video, go ahead. Give it a thumbs up and a like. If you don't, give it a dislike. Read the video description and comment down below on what you think. If you'd like to support the channel financially, there is a Ko-fi link down below, as well as a Subscribestar. Doing so will allow you to participate in Q&A sessions. And if you don't, and the best way to support the channel is to subscribe and share. It really means a lot. So this video on how the AR-18 became a symbol of the IRA is brought to you by Glow So Bright. Thank you very much for watching. Drink responsibly and enjoy your St. Patrick's Day.